This is my 7th time playing this dude. This is round 3 of the Shippensburg Spring Open, and I'm playing Austin. He lives in Shippensburg. He's a Ship alum just like me, and we have played 6 times before this. And before this game, I had 4 draws and 2 losses. And what always happens is that I'm trying to beat this dude. Austin is playing passively, but very solidly, and I'm playing loose and active. That's typically how our games goes. I'm trying to apply pressure, but he's playing very solid, and he's gonna offer me a draw in this game, at least one, and I'm gonna decline. Like, that's how it works. That's how it works. And this was very stereotypical Austin and Nathan game. I play knight of 3. I actually thought here for probably like a minute and a half, debating on if I wanted to go e4, knight of 3, or just try something entirely new. Like, do I want to just play at London and just wing it? Like, I totally could, and I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do because I don't get much out of the opening. I do get aggressive positions in e4, e5 because he plays the Petrov and I castle queenside, but he plays all those moves really fast, and like, even though I technically had an advantage last time I played it, like, I screwed it up very quickly, so I decided to change it up and play knight of 3. He played knight of 6, I played g3, and I'm just going to fianchetto and play c4 later rather than sooner. And it's going to transpose into an English. He plays the reverse London. He's going to play e6 and c6. I castle, e6, c6, and now I'm going to go queen b3, targeting b6. He plays queen b6, targeting b6, targeting b7, targeting the b pawn, I should say. I play d3, and now I'm going to focus on my control of the light squares and try to play e4 at some point is one of the ideas that the white can go for. And he does something a little bit weird as in, like, it's not super common. He takes on c4, which is really interesting. So if I take back with the pawn, that's not bad at all. He would probably trade queens now, and then maybe go bishop b4 and a5 and try to lock down my queenside pawns. Not really sure what his approach would be, to be honest. I assume he would trade queens after trading on c4. Not really sure, to be honest. But I decided to take back with my queen. So now there's an imbalance in the pawn structure. So I have 2 center pawns. He does not. And one of the plans when you have 2 center pawns is to expand in the center. So d4, e4, and eventually, slowly but surely, support my pawns and push them forward and create pressure on his position. He plays bishop e7. I play knight c3, and now I'm going to do it. I'm going to play e4, develop my bishop, develop my rooks, and then he plays queen b4 and offers a draw. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I can't believe I blundered a queen trade. And I was really thinking about taking it. I was like, oh, am I gonna do this? Like, I guess not. Like, no. I'm gonna trade, go e4. After he goes back, go h3. And now one of my ideas is gonna go to expand on the king side. I'm gonna go f4, f5, and here it's actually really tricky if I play the right move. Gosh. In the game, he castled. I could have played bishop e3 here. And if he plays knight d7, I'm going to go knight h4 and go f4, f5. And I think this is very strong. This is a very strong idea. Like, in this scenario, he could play maybe e5. So now after f4, he can take once. And now he can escape to h5 and not get his bishop trapped. But now I do really have free reign in the center if I go f5 and then eventually e5. Not immediately, but that's definitely an idea. And if he does trade, like, I have 2 center pawns, he has none. This should be a minor advantage for me. And if he goes rook f d8, yeah, also in the position, I could also consider, if he doesn't go knight d7, and it goes like a5, I could also consider knight e5 to go f4, f5. That could also be an idea here, for sure. But yeah, my position looks pretty good. Or at least there's more pressure in the position. But after h3, castles, and knight h4, I blitzed out this move. I was playing kind of fast because he was playing kind of fast. Like, I was already down like 6 minutes on the clock, or 7 minutes on the clock, and he now, I'm really showing my plan of I really want to go f4, f5, and kick his bishop back to h7. In probably the third game I played against Austin, or fourth game, I did play knight f3 for the first time, and I did get f4, f5, and g4 in, and his light square bishop was really bad, and I had a big positional advantage in that game. But instead, he played rook fd8 after knight h4, and I realized my mistake. Here, if I play rook d1 here, he can take my knight and then take the pawn, and now I cannot take back, so I lose a pawn. I forcibly lose a pawn if I defend my pawn normally. So I have to take his bishop and then go rook d1, and it's not bad, but I'm just not applying pressure the way I wanted to. He develops, I develop. I was wondering like if he should have played bishop c5 to make it a little bit harder for me to develop and control this backwards pawn. Like, maybe he can go e5 and then bishop d4, or maybe just bishop d4 immediately. Maybe, like, I thought this could be an idea, but instead he just develops. We both develop, and I play f4, and then to expand in the center, and then we traded bishops, and now my king's in the center. I still can go d4 at some point. He goes knight b6. I go b3 to control the knight's movement here. I don't want to go d4 because then he gives a check, and I lose a pawn, but I guess it's not a very important pawn because I get in. But more importantly, I don't want to give up the square for no reason. Looking at it now, maybe I should have just gone for it, because knight c4 check isn't very useful. And especially it's not very useful if he takes this pawn. What he probably would do is play b5, and then I could go b3, and then after he rotates his knight back, let's say to probably b6, I would imagine. Now we reach a similar position, but he wasted some time going back and forth, probably. And my king's on e2 instead of e3. So I think this would have been totally legitimate for me to do. And if he did play b5, then it was going to be hard for him to play c5 later. And it would open up this diagonal as well. So I do wonder if I should have just allowed knight c4, because I don't think it's that strong. But I stopped it, and then I played d4. He brought his king to the center. I played g4. I got connect 4 in the 4th rank, so I won. And then I played g5 here. I was debating if I should throw in this move a4 before playing g5, and I wasn't entirely sure. I actually was trying to debate on whether this inclusion of a4 and a5 was better for me or was worse, and I couldn't decide, so I just played g5 instead. But in hindsight, I think I would love for him to commit his pawn to a5. Because then if this c-pawn ever moves, this b5 square is very weak and he can never kick me out of it. But instead I just win g5 immediately, and this changes things. And of course, if I did go a4, I don't think he would have gone a5. In hindsight, we were talking about the game afterwards. We analyzed this game together on like the Wednesday Public Library Chess Club. I think he might have played a6 or something like that and keep things solid. But instead I played g5, he goes knight e8, and let's look how bad his knight is. I guess it can rotate back to d6, but it still doesn't look very nice. But of course, this knight on e8 can go to c7 and maybe b5, so it's definitely not useless on that square. But spoiler alert, that knight never moves except for the last move of the game. So after rook d3, he went c5. And I honestly underestimated that move. I thought he couldn't do that because I would just double up. And then, well, actually, originally I thought I would go d5 here, because then if takes, I could probably, let's say I take with the rook, and I was like, this is probably a good transformation of the position. Although in this case, now knight d6, and it doesn't look too hot for me. But I thought this was an option at least. Like maybe I might even just go this and do this immediately. Take back with the pawn immediately. And he probably still would play knight d6. Well, maybe I could go bishop f3, bishop g4, maybe double up, or put my rook on e1, and I still have lots of play in this position for sure. But I realized after d5, he got c4, and this is really annoying. My rook cannot stay on the file to defend my knight, so I kind of am forced to take. And after knight check and king e2, for example, there is knight b2. And I don't really want to move my rook off of the d file because I wanted to put 2 rooks there. But if I go rook e3, he can go back. And then I guess I could go rook g3, for example, to defend my knight still. But I'm still not super happy about that, to be honest. But looking at it now, it doesn't look that bad. Because I would still have rook b1, so he might have to go back, and then I could honestly take. Oh wait, no, that's probably not a good idea. Because he does have this check, which looks scary, but it might be okay for me. And then if king takes, I might go here, but he might go here, and then I would probably go here. Actually, that opens up the square. Yeah, that's probably not looking too hot, to be honest. But then I could go here, actually. And then this is actually kind of complicated. Yeah, I think I'm actually winning here because I have the threat of... Actually, I don't think I'm winning here. The knight guards this square. Yeah, this is pretty tricky, to be honest. Because like rook d3, then this check, and then now this knight is pinned. And this rook is hanging. Okay, yeah, so it's pretty tricky. So but looking at it now, it doesn't look that bad for me to allow c4. But in the game, I was afraid of this move. I was afraid of this move c4, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to deal with that. So after c5, I ended up, after long think, I took. He took it back, and then we traded. And I think around here, he offered me the second or third draw. I forget when the second draw was. But now I centralized my king. So I won King of the Hill. You know, getting your king to one of the 4 center squares. I won King of the Hill, so that was nice. And then I played e5. And my idea was that this knight can literally not move anywhere. So I'm restricting his knight. Yes, I am giving up control of this square, the d5 square. But I can also go knight e4, knight d6 at some point at the right moment. And he goes check. I go back to e3. Now, this is one of the most important parts of the game because I thought about going king c5, but I dismissed it for the following reason. After rook d3, wait a second, this game is inputted wrong. Yeah, I think I played a4 now, and after a6, then I played e5. I know this because what I was calculating was rook d7 check, king c5, rook d3, takes, and then king takes, rook takes, king a6. And I thought there was no possible way that I was better. Like knight c7 check. And I thought his rook is really active. Yes, I have a passed pawn. And yes, it is defended by my bishop. But my king is stuck on the edge of the board. And I'm not better here. That's what I thought. But king c8 here, for example. And then I could go bishop c6, and I'm doing okay. I'm doing quite okay here, actually. I am up a pawn at the end of the day, and so I think so. After the game, he was telling me that I could have really gone for this. I wasn't really convinced in the moment because he got so much activity. But the thing is, Austin doesn't love activity like me. He likes solidity. And so he told me after the game that he probably would have done a move like king c7 or knight c8. And then I still would probably go a5 and b4 and try to get my knight to c5 or b6 or over to e4 and d6 or e4 and c5. So I would have had a clamp on the dark squares, and combine that with my bishop. I would have had pressure. It might still not be winning, but it is pressure on the position that would have been a lot better than what happened in the game. So what happened in the game? After he moved his rook back, I went well, actually, I got the move order wrong in this notation. I think I was doing this notation from memory. But yeah, now it shows a4 and a6, but it happened earlier actually. He played king c6. So instead of moving my king forward, I moved my king back. And then king c8, solidifying his defense of this pawn. And then I go a5. So now he's forced to move. Well, he found his nice in between move. Like I thought a5, and I was like, I'm winning. I legitimately thought I was winning, but he found this nice resource, rook c7, and then I go back king to d7. Now so he makes space for his knight on d7. If he had gone to knight a8, it's very ugly, and I could probably do this move knight a4. So stopping him from moving his knight to c7 because there's a fork, and then I'm also threatening perhaps. Maybe not threatening, but knight c5 looks pretty annoying, attacking the rook and attacking this pawn. And then I can play c5 and or b4 and then solidify my position. So that's why he went rook c7, counter attacking my knight. Very nice resource. And now if I take, he takes, and now here, and now this pawn is weak. I'm probably gonna lose it, and yeah, I'm just going to be down a pawn and probably 2 pawns. So that's why after rook c7, I went a king d4. He moved his knight back. I played b4, stopping him from putting a knight on b4. And then he played knight b8. So very passive. But at this point, bishop e4, I had about 2 minutes or 3 minutes or something like that. I was very low on time. This is game in 40 delay plus 5. So plus 5 seconds per move. And yeah, I just did it. I was just playing too slowly. And this is no engine recap until the very end of this video, by the way, if you couldn't tell. He played knight c6. And I attacking my pawn and my king. So I kind of messed up. At this point, I have no advantage. This is just an equal game. I'm forced to give up my bishop, so I got rid of that imbalance. And now there is no imbalance in the centers. Now we both have symmetrical pawns on the queen side, and we both have more or less the same pawns on the king side. So here, at some point, he offered me another draw, and I declined because I'm more active. Well, now he gets his rook active, but I go rook a3, and I force a trade of rooks. And here I probably should offer a draw, especially now. But he plays, b6. I take, and here I didn't want to move my knight because his knight is forced to be on e8. So if he goes knight, so let's say I play h4, which would have been a very reasonable move to do, and I should have gone h4, just a waiting move to see what he did. He'd probably go king c6, and then let's say I go. If he did go king c6, then I could go knight c5. And then if he defends, then I can go... actually, I don't think that's useful. I could go check, and we'd probably make a draw like this. Like this, probably. That's probably the easiest thing to do. But I don't know. I just thought okay, well... if he goes knight c7, then I can just go here, and now it's impossible for him to defend his pawn. And then if he moves his pawn forward, well, I can just en passant, and I should win this game. But I realized I had something really cool, which was knight d6. After he takes, I takes. I can move the pawn forward and then deflect his king, and then win this pawn. So at this point I had about 5 seconds or 6 seconds, but that's just this move just loses because he just takes, and he's more. Even if the pawn went to d8, he would still my king had to already be on c5, when king d7 would happen, so I could go king b6, but I just obviously hallucinated that, and yeah, so he's just up a pawn, and yeah, I resigned. So yeah, that was pretty disappointing. That was pretty disappointing. I really, I missed chances to make things more complicated and to apply pressure, and then he just defended very solidly, and it was, I mean, come on, like, look at this defense. Like, knight on e8, like, king on c8, rook on c7, and then, like, he goes knight back to b8, and I was like, come on, like, how can I not be better here? My bishop has really nice scope, my knight can hop in, my rook can join the battle at any moment, but the position was so solid for him. So he has no weaknesses here. I mean, his biggest weakness is the b7 pawn, which he is defending aptly, and his other weakness, I don't know, I guess you could argue f7 is a weakness, but I can't target it, so it's not really a weakness. And probably what I should have done, probably what I should have done, one way to also apply pressure here, if I go like h4 and then knight e6 and we do the same thing, so takes, I could go rook h2 and h5. That's probably another way to try to apply pressure, because now if you do the same, so now, like, what are you going to do? Like, how is black going to respond? Like, I have to open up another avenue of attack and try to target more pawns. So, like, let's say it just goes rook c7, h5, then takes, and g6. This is probably what he would do, probably. And yeah, I mean, look, the symmetrical pawns is, well, it's not really symmetrical. That's not really the right word, but basically symmetrical. I could probably try to go like rook h8, king d7, knight e4, and try to play a knight on c5 or d6. Well, not immediately, but like, for example, like if he did end up going back for some reason, not very awesome of him to do, to go to infiltrate, but I could go check, and now he's overloaded, like me when I eat too many tacos. So, but maybe he would just go like e7 or something like that, and then rook d7 and then knight c7. So that's definitely an idea for him. But yeah, so I think that's another way I could have applied more pressure, but instead I fizzled out, and instead of offering a draw or accepting a draw, I just lost the game. So yeah, I don't know, life is tough. I'm gonna end it there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.